Hello everyone, PLG here, and today I will be going over Act 3 in my Diablo 2 mod Otherworldly Apotheosis. So without further ado, let's get on with it. And the first change is actually, the first few changes are actually a quality of life changes. One of them is actually the last change I applied. I applied it like 2 days ago, maybe a day ago. So it's a quality of life change that we will see only if we exit the game and re-enter it. Because the spawn point in Act 3 has been changed. Normally you spawn out there on the docks, which you probably know that. And while I was playtesting, I've noticed that it was extremely irritating to always have to go all this way to the waypoint when re-entering the game. So I've changed the spawn point to something a lot more convenient, where you have quick access to Ormus, to Descartes Cane, to Hratley, and to the waypoint. And of course your stash, where we will be going next, because the other quality of life change is right here. So if we look at the topaz, now its name is in orange and it's got those 2 dots surrounding it, which is to easily differentiate it from the other loot. Same goes for the perfect ruby, which is now red. The perfect okay, not just perfect, all of the sapphires and all of the rubies and all of the topazes have now different colors. So the sapphires are now blue, and to differentiate them from the magical items, they have those 2 dots. And of course amethysts are purple and skulls are just kind of dark gray. The runes now are orange, which is a feature already in Diablo from 1.13 upwards, but I changed also that the name rune doesn't appear in their name, and instead they're just the letters of the name of the rune, surrounded by semicolons, those square semicolons. So the other change about this is that the lower runes are orange in color. Some higher runes, like for instance are gonna be purple. If we look, Pool rune also is purple, Vex is purple. And the last few runes, which are of course the rarest, so like Bear rune and Zod rune, are now golden, so that you will all immediately notice that, you know, they're present on the map. So those were the first changes. Also the potions now have some slightly changed names to have them differentiated. Next thing I didn't mention, I've changed the version of the game to 1.13, so that now it will be supporting the higher resolutions, and also for some plugins, which I will talk about this while walking through the Spider Forest. So I've tried at first to change the game version to 1.10 because adding new levels in 1.12, which was the original version of the game I had, was kinda either impossible or extremely hard. So I decided to try out 2 different versions of the game, 1.10 and 1.13. So first on the line was 1.10, which I have to say, the error messages that were going that were popping up in 1.10 were really useful, because they've actually had some kind of explanation next to them. But when it came to actually those bugs, it was hardly playable, and for some reason the 1.10 version of the game was very, very volatile, with which I mean, of course, it being extremely buggy, and for some reason the bugs were just piling up on themselves. I don't know why that was. Whenever I fixed one, another one would pop up, and yeah, it was kind of like a bug hydra. You destroy one bug and 2 others spawn in its place. Also, for some reason, the direct txt command at some point completely stopped working for some reason. I don't know why. So I changed to 1.13, and I've had a lot more success here. As you may notice, I have a plugin that allows me to add higher resolutions. Also, I have a different plugin called Base Mod, which allows, for instance, for there to be loot filters and a lot of stuff, automatic gold pickup and some other things. So yeah, those were mostly changes, mostly feature changes, mostly just small stuff, I could say. So yeah, as you may notice, there are a couple new things in the spider forest. Now it's actually a spider forest because the spiders spawn outside. There's also some plague bugs, which are cat bug variant, cat swarm variant, and the feeder mosquitoes are now green, and their nests spawn here. Also, each of the jungles in Act 3 now has its own theme, its own territory. So if we look at those, the spider forest, it's the territory of the base fetish, which of course makes them spawn here. The only version of the fetish that will spawn here will be the base one. The Great Marsh, for instance, is also the territory of the soul killers, and the Flayer Jungle is, as you may probably guess, the territory of the Flayers. So let's check out the Archnid layer, because maybe we will get to see the new addition here, which, okay, we're probably not gonna see it right now. I've added undead fetishes here. They should spawn, but I guess they do not want this time to do so. Also, the apparitions from Italrasha's tomb also will be spawning around those caves, so that they may have some more time to shine. Let's just go to the Great Marsh, because it's right next to us. And I will show you that I've added also some different coloristic changes to those places, of course. Oh, we got a set item. Amazing. So if we go here, and of course that's still the spider forest. So a bit further ahead. Yeah, as you may see, there's already very visible change in coloration. So the spider forest is kinda green, and the Great Marsh is bluish in its lightning. So also new monsters appear there, new variants of the monsters. So those are the Panther Women that spawn in the Act 3. Vile Ocelots are called them. Of course, they have all their corresponding variants, which is the javelins, the javelin throwing ones, and the potion throwing ones. Maybe we'll get to see the new goatmen I've also added here. I guess at first we'll see the new mosquito, technically new mosquitoes. Normally they do not spawn here and instead spawn in, I think, the Kurast sewers, but now they'll be spawning also here, because you know it's a marsh. So it's supposed to have some mosquitoes. You know, overall it's a jungle, so it's supposed to have more mosquitoes, I think. Let's just clean it all up. Their nests also spawn, which I think I've mentioned in like Act 1. Unfortunately, I haven't fixed the bug with the nests, so they'll still be spawning as uniques sometimes, which is quite irritating. So that's it for the Great Marsh, and while I'm walking to the Flayer Jungle, I'll talk a bit about the next change I've planned for this place. It's not applied yet, but it's a change I want to make so that the jungles will be a little bit more interesting. So right now, as you may know, sometimes the Great Marsh is completely optional, sometimes you have to go through it just to get to the Flayer Jungle, which all are very similar. And what I want to change about this is that the way through from the Great Marsh to the Great Marsh will be a compulsory place to go through, and the only way to get from it to the Flayer Jungle will be through the caves. So it's gonna be working kind of like the underground passage in Act 1. So you will have the Swampy Pit spawn in the Great Marsh, and you will have to go through it to enter the Flayer Jungle. where it will actually connect underground with the Flayer Jungle. I think it's gonna be a nice idea, and yeah, the dungeons will be actually a lot more interesting in my opinion. So if we look here, we have the soul killers, which now have this purple addition to them. I don't know, I think they look a lot cooler now with this. Also, I've decided to add a new unique weapon, which actually it's not gonna be a unique weapon, it's gonna be a set item later on, but right now for the purposes of testing it will be a unique item. And it's a reference, which I guess it's a very obvious reference to StarCraft. It's Zerathul's warp blade, which has teleport as a reference to his blink in StarCraft 2, and also it's got slain monsters rest in peace, which anyone who has played StarCraft will obviously know why that is. And of course it's got insane damage, because yeah, and yeah, I just added it because I wanted to have this teleport with me, so that I can showcase a bit faster. And while talking about this, I want to say that I want all of the speedy classes, so of course the assassin, the sorceress already has a teleport, and probably the necromant, I guess, maybe the paladin also. I will want those guys to have a sort of unique teleport for themselves. So the very obvious teleport that is currently present in the game, Enigma, will be changed. I do not want to have. I do not want there to be I do not want Enigma to be the only armor you want to wear at a certain point of the game, because you know there's other options. It's kind of boring that everyone would just always go to Enigma instead of the other options. And I will be removing the teleport from Enigma and changing it to some kind of, I don't know, stuff for casters probably. Meanwhile, I'll add their own teleports for each of the fast classes. So for instance, the assassin will have two unique items, two set or unique items that will have some kind of teleport as an O skill. So actually I have two ideas for this teleport. One idea is a teleport that after teleportation will apply fade, which will be called blink, which of course is a reference to StarCraft. We've already talked about this before with the warp blade. And the other would be applying the burst of speed at the end of the teleport. So of course this will be a choice and not a... You won't be able to wear both and have both things at once. Okay, we can just skip to the waypoint because the Great Marsh, we've already explored the Great Marsh, and so let's look into the Flayer Jungle, which now has this brownish hue over it. And I've changed something here, which is that the Winged Nightmares spawn in the Flayer Jungle and the Hellbuzzards spawn in the Kurast and in the first levels of Act 4, because normally the Winged Nightmares are actually the stronger variant, the weaker variant than the Hellbuzzards, or maybe it was the other way, I do not remember, maybe I've changed them overall. But I remember that there was some weird mess where the weaker variant of the Vulture spawned later than the stronger one. So I've changed this a bit, and the Winged Nightmares are now also cold themed, as you may see, because they're blue and they have an immunity to cold. The flares now are red, because if they're the flares, then they're probably covered in blood, let's be honest. Okay. Oh, you see here? We got the Flowerless Ruby, and I won't be... Those are the gas potions and explosive potions. I won't be keeping those colors for them because they're not really important. Okay, amazing. So if we look here, yeah, not much to talk about actually. Those are just some... The Flayer Jungle wasn't changed all that much. You may have noticed already the Vulture Demons and Some new spawns are here. I think the javelin throwing panther women are spawning here, but I do not remember all of the spawns exactly. So let's go to the Swampy Pit. If we go through here, you may notice there's a new variant of the claw vipers, the pit vipers, which are of course present in the game files, but I decided to make them spawn here. Also, the preserved dead, which normally had this grayish color, now have a green color, and the grayish black color is now reserved for the cadavers in Mephisto's Endurance of Hate. Maybe we'll get to see the skeleton. Yes, we will get to see the skeletons, so the infested remnants which we've seen in the Act 2 showcase are also present here and throughout all of the dungeons, and also in Kurast. And the Night Lords, which normally spawned in Travinkal, now will be spawning in the dungeons, probably only in the dungeons and in the dungeons and in Upper Kurast. As for the... I do not remember what I wanted to say. So I guess let's just go to the next place, which is Kurast. And in here, maybe we won't be seeing them at first, but I've changed so that the infidels, which normally spawned only in the way towards Kurast, will now be spawning in Kurast, in all of Kurast, although I probably change it so that it will be only Upper Kurast, because that's at some point it becomes boring if they spawn in 4 places next to each other, that are really close to each other. The Bramble Hulks spawned in the lower Kurast because they were underutilized before. They only spawned in the Great Marsh, which was optional back then. Oh yeah, the leapers have some slightly changed colors, because I wanted them to have some slightly changed colors, that's all there is to it. And the identification scrolls now have a red color and are also called ID, because it's very, very easy to understand this. Alright, we're in Kurast Bazaar. Here we have the infested mages, so the mage variant of the infested remnants. In this case, those are the fire guys. Oh, also I completely forgot to talk about this, but you probably also already noticed this. The unique weapons are already now have custom colors. So in this case, the Zeratul reference weapon has 3 colors used, and the uniques I've got here have, for instance, as you may see, blue and golden, red and golden, and so on, so on. We will see more of those. Same goes for some of the super unique monsters. You will get to see this. So the infidels, yeah, they're here. And they're down. Let's just go to the first temple, so we won't be wasting too much time here. Some new monsters probably spawn here. Yes, the bush barbs, which normally spawn... Okay, normally they do not spawn, and they're in the files, but they do not spawn, but now they spawn... Only the bush barbs spawn in the spider forest, and the big bush barbs spawn, as you may notice, in the Kurast Bazaar, and probably in the lowest, in the lower Kurast, although I do not exactly remember it. Let's go into the ruined temple. Yes, perfect. So those are the frozen archers. I don't know if you've seen them before or not. If they're spawned here, then I'll talk about those in a second. But here are the second variant of the phantoms. Those are the life seekers, which have this minty green color. I think it looks really cool, and yeah, they of course steal your life instead of your mana, because they're a phantom variant, not a rave variant. So here are the frozen archers, which are the archer variant of the ice stalkers. They will be most prominent in Act 5, of course. Here's nothing, completely nothing more interesting. I guess we all have seen this Superunique, which I decided to actually not change her color names because they fit her, I guess. Yeah, this time we didn't have too many things spawn here, so not much to talk about here, but at least 2 new monsters showed up, so that's something. I won't be going looking for the next place. Let's just go to the sewers, because in the sewers there awaits something else, I'd say. And you will see this in a second, and actually this is perfect. We're very close to the entrance to sewers too. But let me just talk a bit about what will be spawning here, although not much spawns here this time. Too bad, I guess. Yeah, I guess nothing of interest that I wanted to show off spawned here, because there's actually quite a few new spawns here, but they didn't want to show up. Oh wait, that is in fact the wrong place. Let's just teleport a bit. Maybe it was here? I think it was here. Yeah, it's here. Just get rid of those guys. So if we go down here, there is actually a new Superunique I've added. So this guy is a Hell Horror Mage, Hell Horror Lightning Mage. He's got some of these guys around him, and he's called Kalim's Bones. So, you know, throughout the entirety of this act, we're searching for these guys' organs and stuff like this, and his lore thing is he's supposed to be kind of uncorruptible, something like this, but you know, I guess his bones might not be as uncorruptible as the rest of his body, and the same goes for another part which we will see later on. And yeah, we're finding his bones in the sewer level 2. He's got fire enchanted, that's always on him. Mana burn is always on him. Of course. Amazing. That's what I needed. Just a second. So he's got mana burn. We're not supposed to be here yet. The mana burn is added by me. The only thing that Nightmare added to him this time is actually the extra speed. I didn't give it to him. Maybe I should have cleaned this place out instead of just teleporting through it, because right now it's an absolute pain in the butt to go through here. Let's just yeah, he's also had an aura, and his aura is what I gave him. Just clean this up. So that's it for the sewers. And I guess let's just quit and re-enter the game.